Welcome, my loves. What a stellar episode of the DTFH we have for you. One of my dear friends, I've known him forever, is on the show. You already know him. Pauly Shore. Fascinating character. Interesting person with one of the strangest lives I know of. Movie star, TV star, comedian. One of the members of the Shore family, grew up at one of the wildest comedy clubs on planet Earth and full of all kinds of wisdom and love. So stay tuned for that. But I must remind you, if you want commercial-free episodes of this show, won't you become a subscriber? What are we at now? What's our subscriber count at now, John? Woo, baby! We've crossed the line, 150. I only need 50,000 of you to get to 200K. Once we get to 200K, I just need somewhere in the range of 50 million of you to subscribe. Sign up. And at that point, I will be able to finally destroy the pyramids recently soiled by Mr. Beast. You can find more about that in earlier episodes. It's called Operation Beast Blast. My goal is to get as many subscribers as Mr. Beast and destroy the pyramids. Trust me, it's the right fucking move. Also, I have some shows coming up. I'm going to be here in Austin on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of June at the Comedy Mothership. These shows are almost sold out. And I've heard some comics lie about that to try to get people to do pre-sales. I never lie about that. If I'm not saying shows are sold out, they're definitely not sold out. But this one is. So if you're thinking of coming, don't sleep. Don't do what I do. Don't be the stoner and think you're going to get tickets the day of. Then after that, I'm going to be in Dallas at Hyenas. That's the 20th of June, the 21st of June. I'll be at the Hyenas in Fort Worth. And then after that, Tempe, Arizona, from the 26th to the 28th of June. And then Eugene, Oregon. After a long family vacation, I'm going to be at the Olson Run Comedy Club. So please, come see me. I hope you will. And now everybody, welcome Pauly Shore to the DTFH.
These type of shirts.
I
guess you wear them when you're younger, but I think that it's more like...
You kind of, it's in the 40s, you're going to get a spark. You get a spark. You like put one of these on, you're like, oh, I'm wearing one of these shirts. And then before...
It's very Jimmy Buffett.
Yes. And then it just becomes your wardrobe. But are we rolling, Josh?
Rolling.
Isn't that good though, man? Isn't it better to not give a fuck about your shirts in the way you used to? Doesn't that torture the young man?
Wow, this is getting very intense. Shit, I forgot what. Should I take some ketamine for this podcast?
I don't have any.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Pauly.
Wild, huh?
Thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Dude, when you walked in here, it made me think of my first day on the phones at the Comedy Store. And when you walked in, I don't know if it was my first day, second day, and it was legitimately, it freaked me out because when I was in high school, we religiously watched your show. I'd seen your mom, I'd seen you. It'd been high as a kite, laughing my ass off. We loved it. And then I remember you walk in the door and it was the craziest shit, dude. I was, from North Carolina. What the fuck is this? Whereas your experience of life has been, since you were a baby, people like that are always walking in your door. You know what I mean? Like you do you ever get that sense when it comes to celebrity of like, whoa, holy shit, I'm around this person?
Yeah.
You do?
Of course.
Who was the last one?
Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah, that would get me too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of, and I grew up just like you. I sit and watch TV, go to movies. Same people that you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Penn, Woody Harrelson. I mean, anyone that I love acting. I've been acting since I was little, and I love really, really good actors.
Yeah.
And Woody Harrelson is, to me, one of the best actors out there. So when he was at the mothership the other night with Tony, I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
How's the sound? Is it fucked up or
Here.
No, that's good.
Yeah, as long as, it's direct, just right into the thing.
No, but it starts to drop a little. Or you
Yeah, if you pull back, it's gonna drop. You kind of have to stay up in it a little bit. You have to be up in it a little bit.
Yeah. So, I worship the same people. I mean, I remember years ago I met Madonna, and I was just like, you know what I mean? So, Dr. Dre, friends with him. I see him. I'm still like, very nervous. And very,
How's it sound?
You got to face it more like be about a fist away. And
like this?
Yeah, perfect.
There you go. Perfect.
So I get, I don't need these too, right?
If you don't,
yeah, I don't want them. Yeah. I mean, I'll whatever. I get nervous around people that I worship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I look up to, that I grew up with. Like, I've never met Robert De Niro. I always see him like in interviews and I'm just like, fuck. But then, he would do this to me, I'm sure, because of my style of comedy and my style of acting is probably not his thing.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is the difference between, well, obviously there's lots of differences, but you're born into like a comedy dynasty. Like you're born into, it's a micro cult basically. Like you're born into something that already is sort of like it's not obscure, but compared to like acting, stand-up comedy is its own smaller, cottagey kind of thing. You're born into this just strange incarnation. It's fucking strange. Your mom's Mitzi Shore. You're, hanging out at this famous haunted comedy club as a kid. You become like you got like the spike. Like what Tony's getting. You got this like boom thing. So suddenly you're blasted into an even weirder reality. And do you feel like that is good for a person? Do you feel like, sometimes just having a mid-level podcast, sometimes I get a sense of like my experience of life is pretty different to some degree than other people. And I wonder, is this fucking me up to some degree?
I think in life, and I've gained this as the older I've gotten, you have to really look at what you have and not what you don't have. And I think that it sounds kind of stupid, but I try not to think of all the negative shit, or that happened at the store or, with the suicides and the drug overdose and all. I mean, I can go, there's a long list. The guy jumped off the building and blamed my mom and you can go into that space. Argus Hamilton and how he treated my mom. And like, you can go into that. I mean, we can all go into that.
Yeah.
I mean, every single person watching has had a fucked up childhood.
Yeah.
You can either live in it or you could be like, move on from it.
Right.
And so for me, through therapy and through, meditation and through, health and through time, I've really, like looked at what, the beauty and everything as opposed to living in like some space of just, debauchery.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, the stuff I've seen and the stuff I've experienced, it was crazy. But then again, if you interview someone from Iowa, that you could say like, they could say like, oh, on the farm, my cousin's aunt and my uncle, and like, we had this crazy, so everyone's got something, but it's really just about learning from it, moving on from it, and keep going forward because, we all sit in a place of, I don't, again, saying the word victim, it sounds like stupid, but my sister lived in that space.
Yeah.
My sister Sandy, bless her soul and her heart. She's not with us anymore, but she lived in a place of my mom fucked me over, my dad wasn't there, and
Right.
And she just lived in that space as opposed to, fuck, I got hatched on this sick ass thing. I'm gonna take advantage of this situation and learn. Like, so for me, comedy, whether I'm Mitzi Shore's son or Sammy Shore's son, it's in my blood. I mean, I don't have to be working here. I don't have to be touring. I don't have to be doing any of that shit. I love it.
Right.
You know, whether, you know, I love it just as much now as I did 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
I still love it because it's in me.
Yeah.
You know, like I just love doing stand-up, and I love writing, and I love trying to figure it out. The jokes are so hard, you know, just to try to figure out what works. And so it's in me, you know, whether I was Mitzi's kid or not. And I just got the bug. My brother Peter, my brother Scott, they never got the bug.
Why?
I don't know. You know, it's like, you know, when there's photos of me just watching, like, you know, Cheech and Chong, and, you know, and watching, George Carlin, and just all these different things. Cause I just was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just loved it. And then when Richard Pryor was there in the 70s and 80s, I was just obsessed. It was just like this thing. And then when Kennison came on the scene, I was like, oh my God, you know, it was just like this.
Yeah.
So it was in me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm answering the question
You are.
properly.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know if I'm answering the question probably. But I don't know. You know, we can all sit in a place of, you know, woe is me. You know, we can all sit in that place, or we can kind of keep moving forward.
You got it.
And so for me, you know, being 57 and been through so much, you know, I just try to live today and right now, and let go of, you know, anything that has happened in me in my past. You know, I joke a lot about my movie career and shit like that, and like, oh, my movie career went to shit and da da da. Like, I don't think that. I'm just kind of like, I do it as a joke,
Right.
Because everyone misses me in films.
Right.
You know, everywhere I go, people are like, I want to see you in movies. And that's why the Richard Simmons thing is like spiked up, and I think different things like that, because people generally miss me. You know what I mean? Like, they generally want to see me in more movies. And I want to do more movies, not for the money, not for the fame, because I just like comedy. I fucking love acting. I love acting because it's so hard. And I love figuring it out.
Now that's different though, because a lot of comics don't like acting.
I love it.
Your mom.
I almost love acting more than stand up.
That's interesting to me, because of all the comics that I've watched, you're like the top 3 most authentic you up there. Like, and you know, that's sort of a Comedy Store style, I guess you could say. Like all the comics you just mentioned. Maybe Kennison was like, I don't know what he was like off stage, but like Pryor, Carlin, you know what I mean? Like there's this, if anything, when you're seeing them up there, you're seeing a more magnified version of them or something. But what I love about watching your stand up is that the you up there is the you off stage.
Right.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not an easy place to get to, man. That seems paradoxical, but so what, like, initially when you started performing, did you go through the period of trying to not be you? Like, or was it from watching all these comics you already knew, I'm just going to be myself up there?
I just felt, you know, I don't know. I just felt at home there. You know, I feel more comfortable on stage than I do like at a party.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when I was going through stuff, when my mom was dying, and she was like slowly dying, which was fucking hard, you know, when a parent is slowly dying as opposed to just,
I know.
I was stressed, you know what I mean? And I was going through a lot of stuff. And I was on the road, and anytime I hit the stage, I was like,
yeah,
I could breathe, I can relax. And I felt like this love.
Yeah.
This general, what's it called? Just natural kind of love, and that I wasn't getting from home.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't getting from my brothers. I wasn't getting from my sister or my dad, or, you know, I get it from friends, but I wasn't getting it.
Right.
So part of the reason why I do stand up is the second I get on stage, and I think it's because of my films.
What do you mean?
Well, my films really connected with America. I mean, every one of them. I mean, even like Howard Stern just talks about me all the time. He's like, where's Pauly Shore? Like, I miss him. You know, my favorite movie was Jury Duty. Like, you know what I mean? And like Jury Duty to me, I don't want to say it was the worst movie, but at the time, you know, it was a movie that people panned, and it didn't do well, and it's a piece of shit and all this stuff. And then you dust it off, and here we are several years later. It's actually really funny.
Right.
And so my point is when I'm on stage, you know, people are affected by my films. You know, those 5 or 6 films. Even a Goofy movie now is so fucking big, and I don't even remember doing it. You know what I mean?
A what movie?
The Goofy movie.
You were in the Goofy
yeah,
movie?
Leaning Tower of Cheese. Josh.
Yeah, I
tell him.
remember it. My kids watch it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Leaning Tower of Cheese. Bobby, that's me.
I didn't even know there was a Goofy movie.
Yeah, it's a big. Yeah, well, I'm like you. I don't. You know what I mean? That's not my thing. But for Disney fans, you know, I worked for Disney for a long time during that time, and I did a lot of voiceovers for, you know, different things. I was also Pinocchio. This last couple of years, I was the voice of Pinocchio.
Really?
In a film, yeah. So anyways, but my point is that for whatever reason, the movies that I did connected with people emotionally.
Right.
So even when I sign autographs at Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
You know what Comic-Cons are.
Yeah.
And you get all these people coming up. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's really cool, yeah.
So, but this episode of the DTFH is brought to you by Hims. Friends, just out of pure laziness, I haven't shaved my head. As you can see, there's a sad growth of hair sort of sprouting up there. And over the last few days, people have been saying, you look good, man. And I want to believe that that is related to like some healthy thing that I'm not doing. But the truth is, it's just because I've grown a little bit of hair back, and it sucks. Because when you grow your hair back a little bit, but you want to be a bald, and they're like, you look good, you know what they think about you when you're a bald. I'm not trying to freak you out or make you feel bad. I'm just saying there's got to be reasons Hims chose a dude with a receding hairline and a bald spot to represent their product. And I feel like they're brilliant because I'm sort of this is what can happen. Like, you know, the anti-drug commercials where you see late stage, you know, people who are like, they haven't just hit bottom, they've cratered through the bottom. That wasn't even the bottom. You know, they look like just their eyeballs are falling out, their teeth are gone, their cheeks are sunken in, they've got weird tattoos, they can't remember where they got them from. And they're like, this is why you shouldn't do this. And I feel like Hims is like, yeah, just get this dude with like fucked up hair to show what can happen. But imagine if you were able to address this situation before I did. It's what are we going to do? You know what I mean with this thing? You know, look at that. It's a little bit like, you know, there's cultures that will exhume the bodies of deceased relatives and put fresh clothes on them. They're still dead. That's my hair follicles. Hims provides you with convenient access to a range of hair loss treatment that works, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. 3 months. 3 months away. 3 months away from not having to wear that stinky, sweaty old hat everywhere. Your stink hat smells bad. The process is simple, 100% online, so there's no uncomfortable doctor visits. You can choose from personalized chewable oral spray and serum treatments to find out what works best for you. Answer a few questions and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to you for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything, from treatments to ongoing care. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers. They can help you get your confidence back too, with visibly thicker, fuller hair. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Duncan. That's HIMS.com/Duncan for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/Duncan. Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. You're always working on something, man. Like that's something that's really cool about you. You're very ambitious, but also you get shit done. So what do you got going on? What do you got cooking?
I love it. I just quit my podcast in LA. I had a podcast called the PMS Podcast Show, which was great. The guys from Jam in the Van were awesome. And I had a really good time, but it was just a lot of work. And it was just like very expensive. Yeah. Because it was like a big show. Right. And it was very ambitious. I had like Mervis was on it and Joel was on it. And I had different bands and it was like a big thing. Right. And I do want to do it again, but I want to give it a break. Sure. So I want to go back, going back to my original podcast, which was called Random Rants, which was in my apartment in Silver Lake. I like that one. Yeah. So I'm going back to that and it's awesome. I started filming some because I bugged up my camera. I put up all my cameras in LA and it's fucking fun. That to me with podcasting, it's just having any extra moving parts with podcasting. Yeah. It can it seems to almost run counter to the opportunity podcast. Because you just end up with too many plates spinning, man. It shouldn't be miserable or it shouldn't be something where you have to plan all week for it. Though some of them I do like the organized ones and stuff. I feel like that one in Silver Lake was cool. Yeah. So but I felt like you had me on that one at some point. I remember podcasting with you or something. No, that wasn't Jam in the Van. That was over here with... no, not that one. That was another one. Years ago. Okay. I don't remember. It's a foggy memory. Yeah. But I think that's more suited to you. Yeah. So it's back to basics. I'm not going to have any guests on. It's just going to be me and my dog and like in the camera. And that's pretty much it. I got about 8 cameras. You should have guests. I'm serious. No, really. Eventually. But I want to just connect with the people. Maybe because the people's my guest. Totally Pauly. Remember Totally Pauly? Of course. That was all about, yo, bro, what's up? It's just us. Yes. You know what I mean? So it's going to be like that. So I'm going to try it for a bit. It's kind of where my head. I have to also, Duncan, I also have to do what's in my heart at this moment. Mm-hmm. You know, in 3 to 6 months, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get Bobby Lee on. Right. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But right now, as of today, it's just going to be me, the camera, and my dog. The Totally Pauly aesthetic is interesting in that it leaked later into like Adult Swim. Like that gonzo kind of whatever that was. Yes, it was. It became, when you did it, pre-internet, you're basically doing like what influencers are doing now, this kind of wild gonzo-y, not like it was underproduced, but you know, when you saw it, what we loved about it was it felt so real. And it felt just like, this is not staged. This is just some lunatic. Yeah. And then that aesthetic, it informed a lot of like modern, like hip shows. Like it became a style almost. I don't know if people would connect it all the way back. Because it was so long ago. It was over 30 years ago. Yeah, but 30 years ago, that was like so hardcore. No one was doing that on TV. TV was so square. It was so straight, you know? And when you decided to do that show, did you get pushback? Did people say you can't do a show like that? It's too fucked up. No one knew what it was. And I didn't even know what it was. We just kind of, like, we rolled the dice. And it was one of those things that let's see what happens. And I'll never forget, because when I got on MTV, it wasn't like, oh, they saw me and all of a sudden they put me on MTV. It took a while. Really? Yeah. I got sent home. It was just like, you know, it was like auditioning for my mom. Wow. Like when you audition for Mitzi, you don't just get it the first time. Right. You know, you suck, you get, you know what I mean? And it takes a while. So anyways, without getting into the specifics as how my MTV thing happened, it was my first episode of Totally Pauly was on Sunset, microphone, me walking down Sunset Boulevard, showing America my backyard. And that was kind of like what it was. Yo, dudes, check out this tattoo shop. It's cool. Right. Let's walk in. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And we would just go in there and there'd be some guy, with the fucking is fucking wild, dude. Who's gonna get tattooed? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at some point, the producer would go like this behind the camera. I'm like, all right, anyways, check out this video. Slaughter up all night. Check it out, dudes. And we would just go to a video. And then we took that tape from the first week and we went back to my mom's and we put it into the machine to watch it back. And it was fucking funny.
And that was it.
That was it.
Done.
Yeah, it was just like, oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. Because it was so, like you said, it was so real. And we didn't know, it was just one of those things that just worked.
And
then it just kind of like worked. And then all of a sudden the kids, they found out about it and then it just kind of took off.
Because it's lo-fi. Like you're looking at something compared to what we were all used to back then.
Mm-hmm.
And also you caught the zeitgeist. Like you definitely you caught the skater culture. You caught the underground war on drugs, drug culture. You caught like the outsider culture. And and also that was when MTV was this edgy, insane shit that you'd never seen before.
You had like, 120 minutes and Headbangers Ball and you had Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah.
And you had all that, and it was very, wherever the kids are right now, that's where they were then.
Yeah. And that was, if you think about that was the last phase of that kind of TV. There's a period in between of this kind of like, I don't know, stagnant whateverness. And now everyone is doing what you were doing back then. How many Instagram videos is some dude walking around with a camera, maybe being funny, maybe not, but that style was pre-internet. That's fascinating. You were almost like a foreshock of this explosion. You were basically one of the first quote influencers.
Yeah.
That's
what they said. Yeah.
That is wild, man. That is so interesting. Now,
and I had my own language, and I was talking to the people, and I was saying things like, I would do things like, "Yo, bro, check out the wood you created because it's sweet moisture, buddy." And the executives would be like, "What the fuck did he just say?" And then the audience would know, like, "Oh, he just said that." Like they would get it.
Where did that come from?
Just naturally happen on camera. It was just like the pausing stuff, where I say the first word that I ever paused was major. So I'd be like, check out this video, bro. It's going to be major. And
you just invented that.
Yeah. I just invented
and
that.
You invented that.
And I said, we so buddy. And I did that and it just kind of like took off.
That is, that I had no idea. For some reason, and I think most of us thought this, they just thought you were like that before the show, that you were just some kind of like stoner, skater, surfer dude. I assumed all the skaters or surfers out in those days.
No, I talk. No.
That's what we thought.
No, I talk like that, but the stuff really developed on camera.
Whoa.
Yeah, it really developed during the show.
That is nuts, dude.
And I got more comfortable. And the more stupid I sounded, and the more I went up to people that didn't know the fuck I was, the funnier it was.
Right.
Because it was never about what I was doing. It was always about people reacting to what I was doing.
Right.
And that's why the movie Son-in-Law was such a big hit for me. Because it was me going ba 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 ba, but it was always about the family reacting to me going ba 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 ba.
Right.
Like the dad going, "What the fuck's up with this fucking idiot?"
So you were trolling, basically. Like you were a troll.
Kind of, yeah.
You were trolling. You were going into, you're culture jamming. You're going into like the world with cameras, already fucking weird. Now it's not as weird, but back then, weird. There's cameras.
Yeah,
why
like,
is this weirdo on camera?
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? So you're catching people in like moments of having to just make sense of why is this dude talking like that? What is happening? And that was fun. That's always going to be funny.
Yeah. And it was also, there was a time also where, because I directed the show. So there was a time like that I would kind of direct it once in a while. Like, so for instance, I'd be on a beach, the camera would be off, and I'd see some like buff guys by the volleyball court.
Yeah.
And I'd go up to them, I'd say, "You guys, I'm going to come up to you with this camera and I'm going to fucking start touching you. And just fucking look at me like you want to kick the fuck out of me. And don't laugh. No matter what, don't laugh." So I go, "Yo, bro, what's up? We're here on Santa Monica Beach. We're going to troll around. We'll see what's happening." Dude, "Oh, look at that buff guy. Yo, bro, what's up? Get the fuck away from me. I'll kick you. Whoa, Right. You know what I mean? So I would set up once in a while. I do that for, for reactions. But what happened was is that my show became so popular and then everyone kind of knew who I was, and then the jig was kind of up.
Right.
So then I went overseas, and it was good again. Like I would go to Japan or
Right.
Australia or England or whatever, and I'd do it over there.
It's like Borat. Like it's
Yeah.
got to be almost impossible for him to do that anymore. Everyone knows who Borat is. Like, how do you?
Yeah. So anyway, and then the movies it was so popular that Disney saw this and then put me in all the movies after that. Yeah.
Crazy.
That was cool. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Your mom must have been so thrilled with this entire trajectory.
And relieved, I think.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ, I thought it was going to be terrible. Fuck, that would have been the worst. No, yeah,
So, okay, so you get kind of crystallized in that form, though, man. I mean, it's like, like people are used to you as this character that you innovated during a series. So, and then you're also like doing stand-up. How did you integrate going out and doing shows as you versus the Pauly on camera?
It was interesting. It was like a balancing act.
I bet.
Because you're on stage. When I first started doing shows, I didn't do shows with seated. There was no one seated at my shows. It was always festival seating. Because the way it would work is when I was on MTV and then I'd hit the road, the way it would work. Sorry, I'm bringing all this stuff back.
I love it.
I don't fucking remember. I mean, I remember it obviously, but I don't really talk about it anymore. You know what I mean? But when I was when I got hot off of MTV and I was doing my stand up, but my cadence and my style was so bro,
Yeah.
it was like that type of thing, and there wasn't a lot of material. I would always have a band open for me, so a band would open for me, and then I would go on for 45 minutes, and then I'd bring the band on at the end, and we'd do like 3 or 4 songs.
Okay.
And that's when I did the Lisa song. I had the one song. Remember Lisa?
Yeah,
I kind of remember.
I do.
And I because I always wanted to sing and do all that shit. So that's kind of how it was. That was pretty much all of the 90s. And then I think by the end of the 90s, early 2000s, then I started playing in front of seated people.
Right.
But I would stage dive in my show a lot.
Jesus.
Like I would do jokes and then like just stage dive and they'd throw me back and all that stuff.
But this, I mean, this was early phase development for you as a comic. Like you're trying to you got to appeal to the audience. People are coming to see you because of your show.
Yeah,
They're not
an MTV show. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming.
Yeah, and to this day, I think people still. I wouldn't say they don't know I'm a comedian, but they still think I'm the guy from the movie.
Right.
So then they're like, "Oh shit, he's got stand up too."
But to me, I think versus there's definitely comedians who become actors, but whenever you see an actor try to become a comedian, I'm sure there's cases of that working. I can't think of one offhand, but it's harder. And so then, who is this person? Like, I don't know who this person is. I don't know how to do your stand-up is so good that I think people are probably pleasantly surprised by what you're doing up there. And it makes you look cool that that was a character, something you invented versus what you're doing up there, which is very vulnerable, man. It's this very vulnerable, heartfelt form of stand-up, very relatable, but in kind of it's dark too. There's a darkness to
I got
it.
that from Richard and I got that from Sam. I really studied them. See, a lot of people never got to study Sam Kinison and Richard Pryor live, especially in a small club for years.
Right.
So the one thing that I loved about Sam and Richard, what they did every fucking time they went on stage, is they played the moment.
Right.
Whatever that moment was, they played it. And they were always really sweet in the moment. So they'd go on stage and it was always about, it was always not about the joke. It was always not about being vulgar, because both those comics, Richard Pryor and Sam Kinison, were very, I don't want to say the word vulgar, but very, dark and dirty and kind of raunchy and stuff like that. But they had this huge, lovable quality about them, and you saw it. The first 10 seconds on stage. So I would study that, and I won't say I stole that from them, but I was always like, I thought that was really cool. You to be really sweet, when you go on
Playing
stage.
the moment.
Playing
That's such a good word for it, man. That's a great way to describe it.
But know to be vulnerable in the moment. To go up there and be sweet in the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's and that was something that I got from them.
Yeah.
But Richard was always so sweet the second he went on stage. Did you ever see him when you worked at the store? Yeah.
No, I never
got to see him. What year did you get there?
I got there late 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
no, I would have loved it. I just, I got to see Carlin, but I never got to see
Oh, wow. Carlin was meticulous. But he was brilliant. He's like a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that was kind of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that you can't fake that. That's the thing. Is like you can't pretend to be vulnerable. People are gonna sniff that out in a second. Then you start seeing like performative, and I've seen this style emerge as people try to literally steal that by imitating some bullshit vulnerability up there. But there's a huge difference when you see that live. This episode of the DTFH is brought to you by Cornbread Hemp. Terrence McKenna once said that it is incredible that Western culture survived alcohol. We shouldn't be here. That's our number one go-to traditional mind-altering substance, and it is the devil's spit. Instead of slurping back booze, why don't you just summon a demon and let him spit poison into your brain? It doesn't even tiptoe around the fact that it's bad for you. We call alcohol poisoning a hangover. The next day, you feel like shit. And why wouldn't you? You drank alcohol. You drank the exact same stuff they used to take paint off of buildings. You drank a flammable liquid and poured it into your guts. And now your brain's on fire. And you got to go eat rotten food. You got to go eat some kind of eggs Benedict pancake fried chicken combo just so you don't vomit. And you do it over time. Your hands start shaking. Next thing you know, you look like some old grizzled sailor, but you're not a sailor. You've never been on a boat, but you do feel seasick all the time because your organs are shriveled, poisoned, inflamed, dying things because you keep pouring alcohol on them over and over again. Traditionally, you say you're having fun, but you know it's death. You might as well go to a temple of death and pray to death itself. If you're looking for a better way to socialize and sip, you have to try Cornbread Hemp's new THC seltzers. They're your ticket to hangouts without the hangover, because relaxation shouldn't come with consequences. Plus, they come in 4 incredible flavors. No alcohol, no guilt, no regrets. Just a better way to relax. DTFH listeners, you can find Cornbread Hemp's brand new THC seltzers at retailers nationwide or buy it directly from cornbreadhemp.com. My dearest listeners can save 30% off their first order and enjoy free shipping on orders over $75. Head to cornbreadhemp.com/Duncan and use code Duncan at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Duncan, code Duncan. Cornbread Hemp. This is the good life. A stand-up show shifts into, it's still stand-up, but it really takes people off guard when everyone is brought into the moment.
Into a sweet moment. Yeah,
it's crazy when it happens. Like
watch Richard's specials. You know, he's got a lot of that where he just kind of goes up there and is very nice.
That's interesting. That is not my first thought on Pryor. It's not as sophisticated, my thinking on him. I love him. He's one of my favorite comics, but now it's obvious.
And he was an actor. Great actor. Great actor.
Really
a lot of movies.
Actor.
Yeah, a lot of great movies.
Yeah, really good actor. Bill Murray wasn't a stand-up though, was he?
No.
Just an actor. Now, acting is, I love great acting, and I do voice acting, but the thing itself, I don't know, man. It never like pulled at me like
And
it
that's
does
the same
you.
thing with Joe. I've talked to Joe about it because Joe was on news radio for so long, right? That was his show,
Oh, yeah,
the sitcom. And
forever.
He's like, eh. I'm like, you don't miss acting? I'm like, dude, you're an actor, bro. He's like, eh.
Yeah, no,
So like
it's
not
specific.
everyone, yeah, not everyone. I just like it because I started acting before my. Wait, I'm trying to think. I think I started acting right before I started doing stand up because my friend Donovan Leach, he hooked me up with his manager, this woman named Barbara Binstein, and my first audition was for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And so, like, me and Donovan made it all the way to the end because you would mix and match the kids.
Wow.
So I got mixed and matched with Alex Winters.
Wow.
So I got really close, and once I got really close on that, then what happened was she signed me, and then I started landing all these roles.
Wow.
Like 21 Jump Street, Married with Children,
Wow.
and all these different kind of acting roles.
Yeah,
And,
what do you like? What is it that you like about it?
It's
so
hard.
Much? You like it?
It's
just
hard, and it's
yeah.
also like I like to play a different role than myself.
Right.
You know, like I don't know. I like to I dissect a script the way I dissect the script. You know what I mean?
Dude,
everyone dissects script because you know you're staring at a script of 100 pages and you're in 80% of the scenes. You got to there's a certain way you have to dissect that. And so there's layers of it.
See,
it's almost like a it's almost like a tiramisu. You know, tiramisu is like all these layers.
Yeah.
Like you got to, I have a certain. I mean, we'd be here forever if I told you my how I break down, and I've been doing it ever since. So it's not like I just thought of this, and no one taught me this.
No,
I taught it myself.
The thing you're describing, that is the commonality I've noticed between every one of my friends who are actors, is they love breaking down scripts, struggling over the script, studying the script,
Right.
their weird language that they put into the script. It's a real intellectual, hardcore analysis that for a lot of people would feel tedious. And actors fucking love it.
I love it.
Dude, it's the craziest
Like I
shit.
do cue cards on the wall. I do day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yeah.
I do a whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, you have to understand something. There's 2 big rules that I tell people that want to act. Number 1, acting is listening. Acting is reacting. That's more than anything.
Right.
It's not about how you say the line. It's how you react to the person that say the line.
Playing the moment.
Playing the moment. And because every time, every scene, every take is different. So you have to react differently to every take because you don't know where the other actor's going to go. That's the first thing, is acting is reacting.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And it's not about, I got to say my line perfect. It's about how you react to the person that's saying the line. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what's the reason why your character is doing something? You have to have a reason.
Right.
It's not just like you're going around like this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dude.
So it's like those are the 2 things. Once I break it down and once I learn the lines, what's the reason? Why is this character going in there, and what's the reason?
It's just juggling. It's so many balls the actors are juggling effortlessly that, because to me, when you start realizing how acting is so fucking technical. It's not just that you have to memorize the lines. It's that there are angles that you can't look at. So it's not a natural situation at all.
Right.
You're in this complete
this situation right here. This is a scene in a like a lawyer's office.
Right.
You're my lawyer. I'm your fucking defendant or whatever. You're telling me you got a camera there. You got 2 cameras here. This is a great setup for a scene. Let's do the scene right now. Okay. And action.
Listen, you're going to have to plead guilty.
Well, but I'm innocent till proven guilty, though, don't you think?
There's video of you.
All right, no, cut. Okay, but yeah, like that type of shit. So that's pretty much it. You know what I mean?
Video of
that's
you
good,
the
right? You
juice.
did good.
Oh, thank you, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah,
but
good night. The Oscar goes to Duncan Trussell.
This is not costing me $50,000 every 10 minutes. And so I'm saying, in this tiramisu you're describing, it's not just that I don't want to look at that camera and I'm going to play the moment with you, and that is fun. It's don't say the fucking line wrong. This is your job, man. And this is burning money right now. And you gotta be.
I don't think of that.
Dude, you have such control of your mind.
Yeah,
and,
I don't think of that.
And
I lock into this character. I don't see all this other shit.
Freedom is the same thing you talk about when you go on stage. And this is my friends who are actors. They describe the identical experience of diving into the freedom of being somebody else for a little while, taking that weight off, man.
The Richard Simmons thing was a big deal for me.
Dude,
you know, because I got to play him in this short film, and it did really well, and everyone sees it and is like, "Oh my God, like you're perfect." And so it's like I'm teed up for this, and we have the script, we got the producer.
I so hope that happens, man.
Yeah, we won't. It'll happen. But I'm just
what is
saying,
there like? You got to get.
I don't want to get into it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But my point is that it's a role that I don't want to say is made for me, but it's made for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm flamboyant and I'm physical, just like him.
Yeah.
And I'm sad like him.
Yeah.
I'm lonely like him.
Yeah.
I've been famous like him. I'm isolated like him. I'm by myself like him.
Yep.
You know, I've had people take care of me like him. There's all of these parallels. I was really famous like him. I'm dealing with chubby white people like him. You know what I mean? There's all these things that are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much I'm playing myself with the fucking wig.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you know what I'm saying? Because he was so famous and he was so lonely.
Oh
you know
my
what
God.
I mean? So lonely.
Well, I mean, like, that's a crazy thing to become famous for. Like an exercise instructor?
Yeah.
That is fucked up, man. And spandex, like that whole situation, how do you keep that going? Like acting, you can always do stand up. Acting, but what do you do as an aerobic? Talk about getting trapped in a character. That's a terrible trap.
Hey, positives and negatives. You can look at the positive of it. You can look at the negative. At the positive, he helped millions of people. You know what I mean? He made millions of dollars.
That's right.
And he had a million big houses and he ate good food and and then the negative is all the other stuff. So where are you going to focus? You know what I mean? So it's like not everyone's life is positive.
No, I know. Yeah. And I habituate towards the negative, which is lazy, but still that's what I love about these kinds of tragic figures is that as long as there is that positive. And the other thing that, inarguably Richard Simmons had is the same thing you were talking about that Pryor was doing. It's this underlying sweetness that there's no fucking way any of that would work.
Right. He was authentically that guy.
Yes.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And
he really cared about people. And because guess what?
Yeah.
He was chubby too. And he was made fun of a lot too.
Right.
And he was, an outcast too. So when he sees people that are overweight, that are struggling or that are fucked up, he wants to help them because he's really helping himself.
Innovator, ahead of his time, body positivity,
Absolutely.
way before body.
Fun too, funny.
Yeah.
Funny.
Self-aware.
Yeah, very funny. Yeah, very funny. I mean, and sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but also the other reality is that you really, it's like trying to have a dry fish. If you're going to be that in the world, tragedy must ensue. If you're going to walk around the world with an open heart, it's not going to be,
Yeah.
And so then the other thing that informs people like that, and certainly Pryor, and certainly you, is a kind of tragic, and I mean that in the best way possible, wisdom starts emerging. You don't give up on the open heart relationship with the world. A lot of people do. Fuck that. I'm not going to feel anymore. So people like, you run into these people who have a kind of stubborn open-heartedness where even though they know what this means for life, it means you get to actually feel, meaning the good things you're going to feel. It also means if you let yourself be vulnerable like that, you will experience tragedies that might not befall other people in the same way.
It's called, is it called nice people lose last or come in last?
Sure, there's a lot of
it's kind of like Trump. He's very like fucking like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he says there's two types of people. There's the victims and there's the pythons. You know what I mean? What do you want to be?
You want to strangle people to death? They're being strangled to death.
Yeah.
Only options.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious, but it's kind of true in a way, I don't know, but I play the guy that likes to I get strangled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
What's it called? No good deed goes unturned.
Unpunished.
Yeah. You hook up your friend.
Yeah.
You give your friend a little money. Guess what? That's an opening for him to fucking come at you more.
Dude, it's
fucking disgusting.
Let me tell you.
You know what I mean?
This is the human condition. It starts with kids. You're trying to be a good parent. You're like, you know what I'm going to do? Special day, trampoline park.
Oh,
You're
wow.
going to love it. You take them to the trampoline
no.
park. It's not just trampolines. It's fucking that.
It's fun.
It's fun, but it's also casino it's Vegas for toddlers. It's like flashing lights. They want to do the VR, the claw machine. Now, by the end of that thing that you were trying to I'm going to be a great parent. They're fucking screaming, I want to do the claw machine again. I didn't win anything. And you realize that thing you're describing, it gets more sophisticated.
Oh, wow.
But it starts at the get-go. That,
no good deed goes right.
No good deed goes unpunished just because most people they don't know how to regulate their emotions, and they're hungry too. People are hungry, That's something I loved about your mom. She understood the psychology of comics more than anyone maybe ever has.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she knew no good deed goes unpunished, and it is no doubt experienced it more times than anyone could ever know. But she never let that quality of humans make her hate that person. Because because everyone coming to her was hungry to some degree. Everyone had their hands out to some degree. They wanted stage time. They wanted acceptance. They wanted, to be one of the chosen ones. And so I really love that about her. She was so compassionate to that. She was very open-hearted in that way.
And I'm doing something similar to that right now at the store. I talked to Peter and Bob Wheeler, who, is kind of like the main person running the place with Peter. And I'm like, look at, I'm at the store, I'm doing shows and stuff. I live in, LA and I'm there physically and I'm watching and I'm doing my spots. And then once in a while you see guys like Steve Kravitz, Jay London, Lemaire, Karen Haber, Yorsi, all these kind of and I can go on, all these kind of Comedy Store alumni.
Yeah.
And, and I think I put my mom's hat on. I don't put because whenever I'm in there, I'm my mom. You know what I mean? Not on stage, obviously, but just how she, you know what I mean? Because I know how she was when she was there.
Yeah.
She saw everything. And so I'm sympathetic to those people.
Yes.
Very, just like my mom would be. So we came up with this idea called, it's called the Alumni of the Comedy Store show hosted by me.
Cool.
So basically, June 5th is our first one in the Belly Room.
That's so cool,
And
man.
it's going to be just Comedy Store alumni. People that have their name on the wall, but yet aren't getting spots.
Right. Dude, okay.
You know what I mean? And we're going to bring them on stage, and then we're going to do a Q&A with them after. What happened?
Oh, that's cool.
What happened? What was your experience with Mitzi?
Podcast, man. That's a good show, dude.
Yeah, what's going on with Mitzi? What were you here with Mitzi? She made you a paid regular? What was that like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to be in the Belly Room. We're going to start it off there, and then we'll see where it goes. But the way I look at it is I look at it a lot of different ways. There's Vietnam vets and there's Comedy Store vets.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I mean, she's been there over 50 years.
Yeah.
So you got all these comedians. Jackson Purdue sent me a list, I could show it to you, of all the alumni. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I'd say about 20% of them are dead.
Yeah.
But there's also all the other ones.
Oh, dude.
You know what I mean?
That thing was really controversial because Mitzi was not doing shows to make money. She was doing shows because she loves stand-up.
Yeah.
Meaning people would come knocking at the door who already had a name, famous comics, wanted to go up. She wouldn't let them. They would sell tickets, no doubt. And this would happen during times where it wouldn't hurt to sell some tickets at the store. The store has its own cycles and stuff. And she would refuse to do that because it went against what she felt in her heart was what she wanted to do. Making her what a lot of people would think of as like eccentric. Like, what's going on? Why?
Because it doesn't make sense.
Makes no sense from if you're,
Financially, it doesn't make sense, but with her artistic,
yes.
direction, it made sense. And you were there because you did the lineups with her. What years did you do the lineups?
I don't know the exact years. It was late 90s, early 2000s.
So that was a good time too, though.
It was
time.
really cool to witness that. And also, the other thing that was cool is I didn't know what I'd hitched my wagon to because I didn't come there wanting to be a comic. So basically, I just needed a job on the phones, and then I got swept out in this like riptide.
Oh, wow.
It was luck, just pure good fortune. But I quickly began to realize, like, whoa, like I've never been around a person like this. Like, this is like being around Ansel Adams or something. This is like a chance to be
and
around.
she was very, and this was before the whole internet thing, so she was very blunt.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not now you can't be a comedy club owner and pretty much speak your mind because then, the social media will come after you.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like but she would have spoken her mind still. She wouldn't have cared at all. Nothing, like it was like one of my first encounters, but then being at the store, I encountered other people like that because that was kind of the culture there. Yeah. But that was one of my first encounters with, and she would use the term iconoclast is what she would say. But, it's a hyper unique person that wasn't, making money wasn't the first priority. Art was. Mm-hmm. And whoa, the vibe that created was insane. You're like that. Mm-hmm. Like, like that if you lead with that, you're going to be miserable. It doesn't make anything that good. Mm. But it definitely won't make you money sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so with these alumni, my whole thing is like, guys like Argus Hamilton, Tom Dreesen, and these guys are working out at the store. Like Argus fucking kills.
Oh, dude.
He fucking destroys.
He's so funny.
And he's got great material and it's current and he's funny. And so like, you say like, hey, you got all these other comedians, maybe they could kill. Because to me, funny has no age. You know what I mean? What if these older comedians, these alumni are actually, good? Then you can put them downstairs and interweave them.
Dude, I don't know if I just like didn't see enough of Argus shows or something, but do you remember, and forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but at some point, Dark Argus appeared. Like he was doing more square stuff or something. And then I remember going to see him and his material seemed like it had gotten edgier.
Well, he's been sober for 30 years?
I know, but it's shit. What I'm saying is, something shifted. That's what I love about stand-up, is that this podcast is sponsored by Squarespace. Come on! You gotta try it out. By now you've heard of it. Surely, if you listen to my podcast, I'm speaking to that section of my audience that has heard my mini commercials for Squarespace, my dearest, longest sponsors, and wants to create a website but hasn't tried Squarespace out. You must try. Not just because if you don't have your business online, if you have a podcast minus a website, whatever it is that you're doing, if you don't have some kind of online presence outside of your social media, then you're cheating yourself. You don't want to do digital sharecropping. That's what we call it when you hitch your wagon to this social media company or that social media company. They can pull the rug out from under you at any second. The algorithm can just blink you out of existence. You still are posting stuff, but nobody's seeing anymore. You need a website, a bastion of freedom, a tower on the hill, a light on the tower on the hill, a lantern around, a beautiful lantern around a light on a tower on a hill. And that light is shining out into the World Wide Web, whatever you want it to. It doesn't all have to be about business. Maybe you're ready to start showing people your writing, your art. Maybe you just want to make something cool and you don't know what it is yet. Maybe you feel compelled by the forces of creativity themselves to express yourself digitally, self-publish, build a website, make it look good. It can change over time. It can grow and shrink. It can do anything you want it to because of Squarespace's powerful suite of web design tools. You can go as big as you want. You can make a website in under an hour. I did, and I tested it recently. And now they've got AI to help you out, which you got to try. If you have had weird experiences with some kind of web design, and at some point you realize, shit, this is more tedious than I thought it would be. I don't have time for this. You got to visit Squarespace. This is such high tech. It was already high tech, but now it's pre-singularity level high tech. You can just blast out a really good looking website. And if you're a coder or you're someone who actually understands like deep web design, they give you the ability to do that. If you just want to put your social media feeds in one place, you can do that. If you want a members only area, you want to create some kind of paywall for special content for your fans, you can do that. If you, obviously there's shopping cart functionality, all the modern pay service, they use, obviously there's shopping cart functionality seamlessly integrated into the service. It's everything you need in your go-to spot if you're interested in creating a home online. So try this incredible service out for free. Before you do, go to DuncanTrussell.com. That's a Squarespace website. It has been for years. Beautiful, powerful, simple, elegant, mind-bending, and easy to update. So you could try it out for free. Go to squarespace.com/Duncan. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code Duncan to get 10% off your first order of a website or a domain. Again, it's squarespace.com/Duncan. Offer code Duncan to get 10% off your first order of a website or a domain. Thank you, Squarespace. I've never met a comic who's been like, I figured it out. I'm done.
Yeah,
I've stopped evolving.
Yeah.
That thing that you see happen, and it's the coolest thing to see.
Yeah.
You see someone who's, whatever, okay on stage, and then you haven't seen them in a while, and they figured it out.
Yeah.
They're fully themselves up there. Something happened.
Yeah.
But that doesn't just happen once.
Right.
It's like a cycle.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you're doing is like, not developing them, they're developed, but giving them a chance to sort of.
Well, to me, it's the opposite of Kill Tony.
How so?
Well, Kill Tony is kind of what my mom did. Well, I wouldn't say it's kind of. It is what my mom did.
Right.
My mom, Tony does 1 minute.
Okay.
She does 3 minutes.
Right.
Right. And Brian Redband does the angry cat. My mom's giving the light. You know what I mean? It's a wrap.
Right.
So with Kill Tony, his show is helping young hopefuls. So the alumni is rediscovering old guys and see if they're still there. Because my dad didn't stop. He didn't stop till he was 90.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's, comedy isn't one of those things that you get worse. You could get worse, but you can also get better.
That's right.
But I don't know. I mean, time will tell.
Cool.
They might, who, Jay London hangs out at the store a lot, and he opens for Louis C.K. So every time Louis C.K. comes in town, he's like, I want Jay London. But
cool.
Yet the Comedy Store doesn't book him. You know what I mean? So let's see, maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we can bring some of these back. I don't know. Time will tell.
This is like where economics and developing comics crash together in this awful way, which is like, things are more expensive these days. You're running a comedy club. You need to sell tickets. You don't have, you got to pay the fucking rent on the place. You got to get the people asses in seats to sell some drinks. And it's like that, I get that. But that thing that was happening at the store was very special in that was not the priority. And that allowed a lot of great comics to evolve in that space of like, you just experiment. Be funny, but we know you're not going to get.
Well, if we can interweave, again, I don't know, but I wouldn't say if we can, but I mean, what's happening, and it happens here at Rogan's Club and in the store because it's the same kind of structure, is you interweave kind of good unknown comedians with the famous ones, because the famous ones puts the butts in the seats, and the good unknown ones are just good, and they'll someday be known.
But you somewhere in there, you also need sort of good unknown, maybe not so good unknown. You know what I mean? So that they, because no one starts off good. That's usually the open mic period, but. The Mitzi, like the club, produced a weird liminal place where you could kind of not suck, and God help you if you sucked in front of her, but still a place where you could, like, get your chops up a little bit, which is anomalous, especially for LA. A safe space out there, to do stand up. All right, change of pace. And this might be me leaning too much into the negative, and I totally respect you not wanting to do that. But I don't think people understand how many cults there are in Los Angeles.
All right, I'm going to get out of here now. Thanks.
Come back. Wait, man, wait.
What? I thought you said contractually when I sent my document that we weren't talking about manifestation and cults and fucking Martians and
I'm
bugs.
not accusing you of being a cult leader, and I'm not going to say that you're running a micro cult in Los Angeles that changed my life or anything like that. I'm very sorry that I brought it up. It's not.
So what's your question about cults? There's good cults and bad cults.
That's what everyone in a cult says.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a cult.
But the Comedy Store was some kind of cult.
Yeah.
Like you would, okay, great. And it's the classic cult form, cult leader, Mitzi, a system that was like, would pull you in. Mitzi never told anyone to not.
The Comedy Store still pulls people in, and she's not even there.
I know.
Oh.
So you basically grew up.
I should have one of those circle chains that cult leaders have, right?
God.
You know what I mean? Like one of those necklaces right here with the circle.
I'm sorry.
Be like this.
I'm not, again, and anything, we'll delete anything. I'm not going to leak anything about what you're doing out there. And I don't think it's bad what you're doing. And I learned a lot from your retreats. But we can cut that.
No, I'm just kidding. Go on.
But
I think I need to put on my cult glasses right now. I'm not trusting what's going on here.
You grew up in a cult.
Okay.
And that was like what, and I agree. I don't think all cults are bad. But I remember when I realized it was something of a cult, is watching comedians bow to your mom, and not sarcastically. That was a wild thing to watch, and maybe not completely out of place. That here was a person who like opened up a space where many of them, if not for that space, would have been selling cars. Who the fuck knows what? And so there was a mystical aura at that place that you were steeped in, that you grew up in. It's very hard to describe even now in a way that is tangible, if people can understand what I'm talking about. But I just wondered your thoughts on that.
Well, people were very vulnerable, when they came out to Hollywood in the 70s.
Yeah.
The 80s, and lost. Most of them were not, David Letterman or Kennison or Argus from Oklahoma. Like, you know what I mean? So, everyone wanted to come to California. It was very much kind of like how people want to come into Austin right now.
Yes.
You got Shane Gillis here and Tom Segura and all these guys kind of moved out here, and here's Joe's kind of a cult leader too, in a way.
Yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say kind of. I mean, like,
Well,
he's kind of like.
You got an outsider who's got a lot of charisma, and then something forms around them. But as opposed to like the Mothership or any other place I've been, that's a comedy club, the Comedy Store had a vibe in it. I'm sure it still does. It's why people call it the building haunted. It's why people had all these stories about it, because there is a specific vibe in that place that the only other place I've experienced that is when I went to India. There's a place called Varanasi where they cremate bodies. And it reminded me, not in a bad way. By the way, this isn't a bad thing. It's like, it's this oldest city on earth. It smells like barbecue from the grilled corpses, but it's real. It feels real. And the Comedy Store is like that. And I don't know if you haven't been there, if you could even understand what I'm talking about, or maybe I'm nuts. But do you know that energy I'm talking about in that place?
Yeah, it started with Ciro's,
Right.
Which was the club before, and that's where Sinatra was, and Sammy Davis. So that building has that feeling. And then supposedly there's ghosts. I've never seen any ghosts there. And supposedly the gangsters have, beat people up and killed people underneath the thing. I never saw that. But the feeling is it's kind of like, I call it the Emerald City for comedians. Kind of like where everyone kind of comes and feels like it's their home.
Yeah.
We're all a bunch of, I don't want to use the word degenerate. We're not degenerates, but we're all kind of like misfits.
Yes.
and it's a place where misfits can kind of feel comfortable. And she kind of created that place because all comedians, I mean, we're all kind of a mess.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're all kind of like, looking like deer in a headlight. And with that place, my mom was, very motherly. And she pushed her kids, me included, off to the side, and the comics became her kids and her kind of disciples. You know what I mean? And all the different people that came in off the Greyhound, and she would take them in. That's why she was so hurt by David Letterman when he crossed the picket line. When they were striking because my mom kind of took him in off the streets and gave him a stage time and blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, as opposed to just negotiating a deal and like, hey, comics need to get paid, of course, but why are you striking? And because that's hurtful. You know what I mean? It's hurtful when the person that you just gave a stage to, and you gave, even Jimmy Schubert, my mom took care of his leg, because he broke his leg on a motorcycle. My mom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom put this guy into rehab, and she did that because she cared. Her heart was open because I think that she just knew that comedians need to make the world a better place. And she felt responsible for that because she knew if she could develop these comedians, because that's what she was good at, is developing the comedians because in return bring happiness to the world. I mean, look what she did with Jim Carrey, or Howie Mandel, or Arsenio, or Roseanne, or any of these guys.
So many.
I mean, millions.
Yeah, so many.
So she was hard because it's like joining the army. You can't all of a sudden go through basic training and go like all of a sudden you're shooting a gun. You got to be beat the fuck up. You know what I mean? And you got to, you got to be pounded and basically told you're not ready or you got more work to do. And there's no one else. There's no one at the store like that anymore.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
This was the worst thing you can do to a comic is tell them that that joke is funny when it's not. Lie to them, blow smoke, because then they're going to maybe keep doing a shitty joke thinking you said that and your mom understood that comedy is, you develop via failure. Jokes bomb. This joke doesn't work. I got to cut 5 minutes off of that bit. It's too fucking long. It doesn't work from lies. The audience doesn't lie. The audience is very honest. And your mom was prepping people for that. I think, I don't know. I encountered her after the strike, after the many weird things that happened there. And I think by then she had sort of like maybe become even more tough, recognizing, dude, you don't want to if you help somebody become famous and they're not ready for it, you're not helping them at all.
Yeah. I
always felt like that's part of what she was doing.
Yeah. But it was definitely, you go back to the cult kind of place, and the, it was very much like that. But, it's like shit or get off the pot. This is her club. She owns it. She's the person in charge,
Sure.
like it or not. She's the one that gets to tell you to go on stage or not.
Yeah.
And this is her vision. You either want to roll with me or you don't. And she's like, yo, I want to roll with you. I want to answer phones. I want to park cars. I want to do all this shit. because I just want to get in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes people hit me up I wouldn't say all the time, but I get hit up all the time. Well, how do I get into the store? How do I get in? Like, just go hang out there. Figure it out. You know what I mean? There's no shortcuts, you know?
No.
Yeah.
And dude, that's something about you that your work ethic's insane, man.
Mm.
Like, you know, that's always been something I've been very impressed with. It's a little like, it's good to be around people like you because it like makes you work harder.
Mm.
But you know, you grind, man. Like
Yeah.
you really do like finish shit, which I think separates a lot of people from other people. Tell me about that, man. Tell me about the grind. Where did you get that? Was it from watching your mom? At what point did you realize you can't really fuck off if you want to make good stuff?
Like you said earlier, everyone's got different levels of their career and different, you know, every 7 years things change and every, you know, stuff happen. So for me, you know, the totally Pauly thing was the thing that just kind of like, I look at it as that old kind of Reese's peanut butter commercial with the chocolate and the peanut butter where it just hit. And for some reason it just worked.
Yeah.
So it just worked. So that was, I don't want to say luck, but that was part luck, part timing, part talent, part being the right guy at the right time, the right network, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just all kind of lined up. And then from there, the harder you rise, the harder you fall.
Yeah.
So then like after my movies didn't perform and I fired everyone, and I was pretty much, I purposely kind of put myself out on the street again. I'd never been on the street before. So, at 30 years old, I found myself having to figure it out.
Right.
You know, start over again.
Right.
And that's when I did Pauly Shore is Dead. You know what I mean? And that's when I first started figuring it out.
Yeah.
So part of it is through therapy. You know, I went to group therapy to give me the tools to kind of like just deal with shit, letting go of stuff, moving forward, making a vision for myself on projects. So for instance, Pauly Shore is Dead was the first, to me, it was the beginning part of the second part of my career because I wrote it, I paid for it, you know, I directed it, I produced it, I did that, all that shit. Yeah.
You worked your fucking ass off, dude. It was crazy. Yeah.
It was hard fucking film.
Yeah, man.
And it took me 5 years to do it.
I'm sorry.
And that was like the beginning part of.
I gotta ask this though, man. Like only because you said group therapy.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, we're friends, but I'm thinking how wild that would be. You go to your first group therapy. Pauly's there. And also for you, do you feel nervous in that situation about being like saying everything, which I assume you have to do in group therapy?
Yeah.
That's got to be weird for you, man.
Yeah.
I would expect you to do one-on-one therapy, not group
I've
therapy.
tried that, but the group is better because it puts you in with real people. And it's emotional intelligence as opposed to like, you know, one-on-one. Like you do these dyad, they're called dyads. You do them with different people and it breaks everything down. It's fucking hard.
Oh, you're doing family systems?
No, it was called LifeSpring years ago.
I remember when.
You remember I did that.
That seemed to coincide with Pauly Shore's Dead.
Yeah,
like it seemed like those things. Okay, I got you. So that kind of, that helped you.
It gave me the support and the direction. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Basically having a sense of humor about myself.
Yeah.
Because I took, you know, when I put myself out there and then I went away, you have two ways, you know, when your career goes into a spin, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
After you have that run, you have two ways to be. And one way is like you say, oh, that was awesome. Like I had a sick run, like let's chill. I'm gonna go surf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna go chill. Or the other way is you take it personal. I took it personal. Yeah, I took it personal. And then I went to group therapy and I was able to let go and then I was able to make fun of it.
Wow.
But I don't know, because I've produced and directed so many different projects, and this is before the internet. I mean, we're talking a lot of projects. I mean, Natural Born Comics and Politics and Adopted and Vegas is My Oyster, like a lot of projects. because I'm able to visualize my stuff, my projects, I'm able to finish them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You mean
Because you said
you see for beginning? I said you finish
beginning,
stuff.
middle,
As
and
opposed,
end,
some people don't. They get halfway and they
because
stop.
I know the beginning, middle, and end.
You mean
I've been
before
through.
you work on it, you already
Correct.
pictured? Wow.
Yes,
that's
yeah.
cool.
I see the whole thing. Like I have this new movie. I met this girl in Las Vegas, and I never planned this. This just literally happened about 2 months ago. I met this girl in Las Vegas. She's a nurse, and she's also a stripper. Let me say that again. She's a nurse at night. You know, she cleans people's assholes and all that stuff, you know, working the late night shift where people come in where they're dying, and like a real nurse. She's got her whole license and the whole thing. And then she's also a stripper at the Spearmint Rhino, which is like the #1 strip club in Vegas. So she's two people.
That's
so
crazy.
I thought it was such a cool character. I'm like, fuck, I got to write a movie about this. So I wrote a whole fucking thing about it. And I got a writer, he's writing the script, and I'm going to produce it in Vegas. And it's going to be this like, kind of like a Nora, kind of like that vibe where it's like shot. I'm going to shoot it with no actors. I have this whole vision for it in my head.
Why is she like? It seems like the money you would get from dancing would exceed your nurse salary. But why is she nursing? Like why?
Well, because she likes it. I don't know.
Wow.
You know, she likes helping people.
So
Yeah.
when does she sleep?
Well, she sleeps during the day, and then she works on what is it? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, she does the nurse thing at night, and then she takes Wednesday, Thursday off, and then she works at the strip club on Friday, Saturday. Yeah, it's cool. It's fucking wild, right?
Has she ever run into a former patient?
Well, that's part of what the movie is. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. But anyways, but I just thought it was an interesting, you know, it's interesting to me. So I all of a sudden started going like this, and I visualized the movie, and I got my team together,
That's cool.
and I just want to do that. And I'm not in it. I just want to direct it. So,
Pauly,
yeah.
we're out of time.
We could have gone on for hours.
Oh, I know, man.
And you know what's cool is I live right across the street from here.
We got to do it again.
That's what I'm saying. Every time I come out here.
Anytime,
We can,
man.
really?
Yeah, of course. You're my
Josh, we're okay?
We're good.
We're good. Josh is my friend.
But I'm more of a friend, and you are a father figure to many of us. And thank you for leading the way. And I'm so excited to hear what the Silver Angel has revealed to you at the next retreat. That was Pauly Shore, everybody. Thank you so much for watching or listening. I'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.